This is the solution to the 2021 Leaving Cert Maths Paper 1 Ordinary Level. Question 1 is focused all around percentages. The first one, a television costs €380 before VAT at 21% is added. Find the cost of the television after VAT. So we basically have to find 21% of 380 and add it on. So we are going to go 380 divided by 100 gets me €3.80, that's 1%, and multiplying it then by 21 to find 21%, which is €79.80. I then need to add that on to the cost of the TV before VAT, so 380 plus my €79.80 gets me a cost of a TV of €459.80. Part B. When VAT at 21% is included, the price of the laptop increases by €130.20. So that's basically telling me that 21% is €130.20. And first of all, I need to find what 1% is. So to get 1%, I divide across by 21. A little bit of algebra, basically. Treat the percentage sign as if it's an X. And that's giving me €6.20. And I want the price including VAT, so I can multiply by 121 or multiply by 100 first, if you prefer. And that's going to get me €620. So that's the price pre-VAT, and I now need to add on my VAT. So 620 plus my 130.20 gets me a price of the laptop of €750.20, which includes the VAT. Part C. A printer is priced at €290 including the VAT at 21%. Find how much the VAT represents. So this question means that the €290.40 includes the 21%. So that's why I'm letting 121% equals to 290.40. Get 1%. So again, it's a little bit like algebra. Divide across by 121. And that gives me 1% as a decimal coming out as €2.40. The question wants how much VAT is included. So I need to multiply my €2.40 because that represents 1%, multiplied by 21 to get 21%, which is giving me €50.40. And that is how much my VAT is worth. Okay, looking now at Part D. On September 1st, 2020, the standard rate of VAT in Ireland was reduced from 23 to 21%. Company bought 30 computers in September, all at the same price. The company calculated that it saved €336 due to the reduction in VAT. Find the price of one computer. So just watch here. You're working to your figures of 30 computers, but then we just need to divide by 30 at the end to get the price of one. So in other words, my VAT rate is going from 23% down to 21%. So there's a reduction of 2% going on here. So that 2% represents my saving. Or in other words, as per my question, my saving is €336. So in other words, 2% represents €336. So to get 1%, I need to divide across by 2. So that's getting me 1%. Is getting me €168. Now I'm going to divide that by 30 because the question wants the price of one computer. So dividing that by 30 is getting me €5.60. So that's representing 1%. The question wants the price of one computer before VAT. So before VAT represents 100%. So I'm going to multiply 560 by 100, gets me €560. That's question 1. Scrolling down now to question 2. It's our complex numbers question. So the first part here, plot and label Z1, Z2, and Z1 plus Z2. Z1 plus Z2 we'll do here first of all. So Z1 is minus 3 plus 4i. I'm going to add on Z2, which is 4 plus 3i. I'm going to add the real parts. So minus 3 plus 4 is getting me positive 1 on my number line or my calculator. And then I'm going 4i plus 3i, which is getting me positive 7i. So coming over to my coordinate graph or my Cartesian plane, minus 3 plus 4i is bringing me to here. So that's Z1. Z2 is 4 plus 3i, which would be here. And my new complex number Z1 plus Z2 is 1 plus 7i, which is here. So I'm going to call that Z1 plus Z2. Okay, so that is part A. Scrolling down to part B, it's about division of complex numbers. So Z3 is equal to Z1 divided by Z2. So let's have a look. What is Z1 again? Z1 is minus 3 plus 4i. All over Z2, which is 4 plus 3i. Now to divide complex numbers, remember that we multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate of the bottom. So I'm just going to put these in brackets, and I mean I need to multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate of the bottom. The conjugate basically just means to change the sign in front of the I. So that becomes 4 minus 3i, 4 minus 3i. And then you just have to multiply out your top and bottom. So I'm going to do them out separately here. So I'm going to do out my top first of all here, and that is going to get me minus 3 plus 4i times 4 minus 3i. And multiplying that out, minus 3 times my second bracket and plus 4i times my second bracket. That's getting me minus 12 plus 9i plus 16i minus 12i squared. So I'm getting minus 12 plus 25i, and my minus 12, the negative 1 is substituted in for my I squared. So that's giving me minus 12 plus 25i plus 12, because minus 12 by minus 1 is positive. Minus 12 plus 12 is 0, so that's giving me a numerator of 25i. So I'm going to sub that in for my top of my fraction. And now I just need to come over and do the bottom of my fraction. Okay, and what's the bottom asking me to do? It's asking me to multiply 4 plus 3i times 4 minus 3i. And again, first term by second bracket, second term by second bracket. And that's giving me 16 minus 12i plus 12i minus 9i squared. Minus 12i plus 12i will cancel. They'll become 0. Then I'll substitute in minus 1 for my I squared, which is going to give me then a positive 9. So it's 16 plus 9, which is 25. Then when I come back over, I'm going to sub that into my fraction. So it's 25 over 25. Sorry, 25i over 25. And 25 divided into 25 gives me just 1i. And they wanted it to be written in the form a plus bi, so that's going to be 0 plus 1i. My a there is my real part, which is 0. Okay, part C. Find the modulus of Z1 conjugate. So just little things here, the lines like this mean modulus, which is the square root of a squared plus b squared. And then that little hat above the z is our conjugate, which is basically changing the sign in front of the I. So it wants us to find z conjugate minus z2. So that is giving me, what is z1 again? Z1 is minus 3 plus 4i. So the conjugate of that is minus 3 minus 4i. So I changed the sign in front of the I. I'm subtracting z2, and z2 is 4 plus 3i. And I'm going to work that out first. So that's giving me minus 3 minus 4, which is going to be minus 7. Then I'm coming to the imaginary part, minus 4i minus positive 3i. So minus 4 minus 3 is giving me minus 7i, isn't it? It is minus 7i. Now I'm going to find the modulus of that. So my a is minus 7, my b is minus 7. So that's giving me a squared plus b squared, which is going to be a, which is minus 7. Just make sure and put that in a bracket on your calculator because it is a negative 7. And 7 sevens are 49, 7 sevens are 49. So it's the square root of 98. And when we go to our calculator and we find the square root of 98, we get 7 square root 2. And the question doesn't want it in decimal. Just go back up to the question. It says, give your answer in the form p square root q. So my p and my q are my 7 and my 2. Okay, that is question 2 now. Scrolling on down to question 3. Show that x equals to 4 is a solution of the equation x squared minus 2x minus 8. So in order to do that, different ways you could do it. You could turn it into a factor and divide. I'm going to sub it in. So I'm going to just write my x's with a bracket here first of all. And all I'm going to do here basically is substitute in 4 for my x. And I should get my answer equal to 0. And let's see, do I? So it's 4 squared, which is 16, minus 2 4s, which is 8, and then subtract my 8, my constant as per the equation. Minus 8 is giving me, oh, sorry, the screen is jumping there. Minus 8 is giving me minus 16. From 16, and 16 take away 16 is 0, so 0 is equal to 0. Therefore, x equals to 4 is a solution because we wanted to make sure that it was equal on both sides. Okay, the equation x squared plus ax plus b, where a and b are elements of integers, has solutions x equals to 5, x equals minus 2. Find the values of a and b. So there are many different ways you can do it. What I'm going to do here is, so we know that x equals to 5 is a solution. Our roots, if I turn them into factors, that's the same as moving the 5 over the equals becomes x minus 5. And I'm going to do the same for the x is equal to minus 2. Moving the 2 over the equals would give me a factor of x plus 2. So I'm basically just doing this question in reverse. And then to turn my factors into a quadratic, what I do is I multiply my 2 factors by each other. And when I multiply my 2 factors by each other, it's first term by second bracket, and then my second term by my second bracket. So that's giving me x multiplied by x is giving me x squared, and x multiplied by positive 2 is giving me positive 2x. X multiplied by minus 5 gives me negative 5x, and then my negative 5 multiplied by positive 2 is giving me negative 10. And just tidying that up gives me x squared minus 3x minus 10. So you can see now that my b is minus 10, and my a is the number in front of the x, which is negative 3. Okay, so that is one way of doing part B. Moving down to part C, find the solutions of the equation 5x squared minus 2x minus 9 equals 0. The key to this question is it's saying give your answer to 2 decimal places. So that's the sort of hint that is going to tell you to use your minus b formula, your quadratic formula from your log tables. And that's written as x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now my a is 5, my b is minus 2, and my c is minus 9. So subbing them into my quadratic equation formula, just be careful here, it's a double negative, so my b is negative 2 and the minus from the formula, plus or minus the square root of b squared. My b is negative 2, so I'm going to put that in a bracket because my calculator won't work it out otherwise, minus 4 times a times c. So my a is 5, my c is minus 9. And that is all divided by 2 times a, which is 2 times 5. Okay, so that minus minus 2 becomes positive 2, plus or minus the square root of minus 2 by minus 2 is 4, and minus 4 by 5 by minus 9 is giving me plus 180 all over 10. So that's getting me 2 plus or minus the square root of 184 all over 10. The square root of 184 is 2 root 46 divided by 10. So I'm now going to just basically do them out for the plus and the minus. So it's going to be 2 plus 2 root 46. Now you can just call that root 184 if you wish. And my second one is 2 minus 2 root 46 all over 10. So my two values for x now from my calculator, the question wants it to 2 decimal places, are 1.56 and negative 1.16. Again, just make sure you're careful there with your decimal places, to 2 decimal places. Okay, question 4 is another little bit of algebra. They just basically want you to solve the equation. So I'm just going to make sure I keep my equal signs coming down the center of my page. Then I'm going to multiply in my brackets here. Don't multiply by the 7 because it's outside of the bracket. So 4 multiplied by 2x is giving me 8x. 4 multiplied by 3 is giving me plus 12. Minus 7 is equal to 3 multiplied by x is 3x. 3 multiplied by 5 minus 15. The 12 and the 7 are going to become 5. So that gives me 8x plus 5 is equal to 3x minus 15. Now I want to get x's on the left and numbers on the right. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. So 8x minus 3x is equal to minus 15. Subtract 5 from both sides. So that's getting me 8x take away 3x is 5x is equal to minus 15 minus 5 is minus 20. And then to get x on its own, I need to divide minus 20 by 5, which is giving me negative 4. So x is equal to negative 4. Solve the simultaneous equation. Now this is not your standard simultaneous equation because you can see it is a line and a circle. So there's the power of 2 in one of them and in the other one there's no powers of 2. So just be careful with these that you don't go and do your standard simultaneous equations. So what you need to do here is we need to take the equation of the line. So that's the 2x minus y equals 7, the one without the power of 2. Manipulate that in terms of x or y. So I'm going to go minus y is equal to 7, move over to 2x becomes minus 2x. Now that's minus y is equal to 7 take away 2x. I want to change the signs or multiply across by minus 1 because I want it to be positive y is equal to. So I'm basically just changing the sign. So it was a 7, it now becomes a minus 7. It was a negative 2x, now becomes a positive 2x. So that is what y is. Y is minus 7 plus 2x. Now I'm going to come back to my equation of degree 2, my circle equation. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to substitute in my y, my minus 7 plus 2x for y. So that's going to give me x squared plus, and now I'm going to sub in minus 7 plus 2x, and that is squared, equals to 49. And the reason for that is you can now see my equation only has x's in it. I now need to multiply out that power of 2. So a power of 2 just basically means I'm multiplying it by itself. So let me write that out first of all. So when I'm multiplying something that's squared, it means by itself. So minus 7 plus 2x by minus 7 plus 2x. So just make sure you don't lose any terms here. So it's x squared plus my first term, so minus 7 times my minus 7 plus 2x, and then my plus 2x, my second term, times my second bracket. And that is all equal to 49. And when I multiply that out, I get x squared minus 7 by minus 7 gives me plus 49. Minus 7 by positive 2x is giving me a negative 14x. 2x multiplied by minus 7 gives me negative 14x. And then 2x by 2x gives me plus 4x squared, all equal to 49. little bit tidying up here now. I'm going to put the minus 14x and the minus 14x together. That's giving me, and actually I'm going to put this x squared and the 4x squared together. So first of all, they give me 5x squared. Minus 14x is minus 28x. And then I have plus 49 equals 49. Then going to move over this 49, over the equal sign. And that's giving me 5x squared minus 28x plus 49 minus 49 equals 0. So you can now see that the plus 49 and the minus 49 will cancel. So that's giving me 5x squared minus 28x equals to 0. I'm going to factorize out an x. There's an x common to both. So that's giving me x times 5x minus 28 equals to 0. And then when I solve for x, that means that x is equal to 0 and 5x minus 28 is equal to 0. Running out of space here. 5x is equal to positive 28 when I move over that minus 28. And then to get x on its own, it's 28 divided by 5. And 28 divided by 5 is giving me a fraction this time. So 28 divided by 5 is giving me 5.6. Okay, so there are my two values for x. Now we have to go off and find y. So to find y, we basically now just have to sub our values for x back in to our value for y, which is minus 7 plus 2x. So I'm just going to come up here now and I go now find y. And don't forget that we have y as equal to minus 7 plus 2x. And I'm going to do it out twice because I have to do it when x is equal to 0 and when x is equal to 5.6. So I'm basically subbing it in twice here now. So subbing it in, I get y is equal to minus 7 plus 2 times x. Sorry, I've written 28. That should be an x. And that is giving me 2 times 0. So that's giving me y is equal to minus 7 plus 0. So y is equal to minus 7. So my first coordinate is 0 minus 7. So my x comes first. And then when I put in my 5.6 for x, I get y is equal to minus 7 plus 2 times 5.6. 5.6 multiplied by 2 is giving me 11.2. So y is equal to minus 7 plus 11.2. And 11.2 minus 7 is 4.2. So y is equal to 4.2. So my second coordinate is my x, which is 5.6, comma 4.2. Now you can have them as fractions if you prefer. Okay, scrolling on down now to question 5. The function f is defined as the following. Find f of 0.67 correct to 2 decimal points. So this is basically just wanting us to sub in 0.67 into our function. So that's going to find us f of 0.67 is equal to 3 times 0.67 squared minus 6 times 0.67 plus 7. So I'm subbing in my 0.67 for my x. And what does that give us then? So we just basically type that in our calculator. So I'm getting 4.3267. Question wants it to 2 decimal points. So that's equal to 4.3267, which is 4.33. So just make sure you get your rounding correctly there. The next part, find the value of f of x equals to 4. So equals to 4 basically just wants you to let your function 3x squared minus 6x plus 7 equal to 4 and solve that quadratic equation. So make sure your quadratics are always equal to 0. So I need to move over that 4. So it becomes a negative 4. And that's getting me 3x squared minus 6x plus 3 is equal to 0. Now you can use your minus b formula if you prefer. But here it looks like it's straightforward because the factors of 3 are, they have to multiply to 3. So they can only be 3 and 1. And it has to be 3x multiplied by 1x. So I would be putting in my 1 here and my 3 here. Because kind of think of it this way, that 3x multiplied by 1 is 3x and 3 multiplied by 1x is 3x, and they have to add to 6x. And just make sure you get your signs correctly. So it's going to be a minus minus, because minus 3 multiplied by minus 1 is positive 3, and when I take them away I get my negative 6. So solving that then, I get 3x minus 3 is equal to 0, and I get 1x minus 1 is equal to 0. Getting x's on one side and numbers on the other, moving over that minus 3 becomes a plus 3, so x is equal to 3 divided by 3, so x is equal to 1. And my second one, when I move over that minus 1, it becomes a positive 1, so x is equal to 1 divided by 1, which is 1. So find the value of x when f of x is equal to 4. See the way the question phrased it here. There's only one value, and you can see that I got the same answer both times. So therefore, x is equal to 1. Okay, we are continuing on, and we're looking at part C to this question. And it wants us to use calculus to find the coordinates of the local minimum point of f. So once you see the phrase local minimum, you're talking differentiation basically. And what that question is basically getting us to do is, so if we were to look at our sketch of our curve here, you don't need this, but our function f looks something like this. And the local minimum is the point at the bottom of our curve, where it turns basically. And if you think about it, the point where it turns has a slope of 0. It's flat. And another word for slope is our differentiation, or our dy dx. And so I basically need to go to my function, my f of x, which is 3x squared minus 6x plus 7. I need to find a value for its slope by differentiating it. So that becomes the power multiplied by the number, which is 6x, reduced the power by 1, so that's 6x to the power of 1. And then minus 6x differentiated becomes 6, and then I drop the constant. So 6x minus 6. Now at the local minimum or maximum, it has a slope of 0. So this formula for slope is now equal to 0. I now solve for x. I'm going to move over this minus 6 to become a plus 6. So 6x is equal to 6. X is equal to 6 over 6, which is 1. Now I'm looking for the turning point, and a turning point has an x and a y. I've just found the x. Now I need to find the y. So I come back to my original function, 3x squared minus 6x plus 7. Just make sure that you don't sub it into the formula you have for slope. It's going back into the original function. So I'm going 3 bracket 1 squared minus 6 bracket 1 plus 7. So I'm subbing in my value for x here basically. And when I multiply that out, I get 3 multiplied by 1 is 3. 6 multiplied by 1 is 6 plus 7. 3 take away 6 is minus 3. Minus 3 plus 7 is 4. So my value for y is 4. So the question said, find the local minimum point. Local min point is going to be my x, which is 1, and my y, which is 4. Okay, scrolling on down now to question 6. So this is patterns and sequences. The first three terms in arithmetic sequence are minus 5, k, and 1. Find k, and hence or otherwise show that the common difference is 3. So my sequence, remember with an arithmetic sequence that it must go up in a common first difference. So it's minus 5, k, 1. So it's going up in a common difference. And what is it going up in? So basically, if you think about it, the gap between minus 5 and positive 1 is 6 units. And it's going up with two differences, so 1 and 2. So if I divide 6 by 2, I get my common difference of 3. So that means then that my common difference is a positive 3. And in order to get the value of k, I need to go from my first term minus 5, add on my common difference of 3, which gets me minus 2. So my common difference is 3, and my value for k is minus 2. There's many different ways you could do that. That's just one way of doing it. Find term 10, the 10th term in the sequence. Now you can just keep going, adding on 3's. You don't have to set up a formula if you don't want to. So it's -5, -2, 1. So that's my term 1, T2, T3, T4, T5, T6, T7, T8, T9, T10. Now you can set up a formula. We'll have a look at that in a second. But what are we doing here? We're adding on 3 each time. Yeah, this way is probably a little bit tedious, but look, we'll do it and we can verify our answers are the same. So what are we getting? Add on 3, you get 4. Add on 3, you get 7. Add on 3, you get 10. Add on 3, you get 13. Add on 3, you get 16, 19, and 22. So we're hoping term 10 is 22. Now you can do that another way. Remember our Tn formula. So our Tn is equal to a plus n minus 1 times d from our log tables. Our first term is -5, which is a, plus n minus 1 times d is our difference, which is +3. Now our n is going to be 10 in this case, because that's the term we want to find. So it's -5 plus 9 times 3, which is 27 plus -5, and 27 take away 5 is 22. And that is our value for T10. So either way works. Find which term in the sequence has a value of 247. Okay, so here I would be using my Tn formula. So let's go back to our Tn formula here for a second. It's a plus n minus 1 times d. A is our first term, which is -5, plus my n minus 1 times my difference. So I'm basically just setting up a formula here for this particular sequence. So it's -5 plus 3n minus 3. So I can have my formula as 3n minus 8. So that's a formula for Tn. Which term, or which value for n, in other words, has a value of 247? So I'm just going to let 3n minus 8 equal to 247. Again, a little bit of algebra here. Add 8 to both sides, or move over to -8, which is giving me 255 equals 3n. So that means n is equal to 255 divided by 3, and 255 divided by 3 is getting me a value of 85. So which term? It's term 85. The first 3 terms of a different arithmetic sequence are 4, 9, 14. Find S50, the sum of the first 50 terms of the sequence. So looking at my sequence here, we have 4, 9, 14. That's giving me a first term, or a, let's call it, as 4. And it's getting me a d, a common difference of the difference between the terms is a +5. Then going to go to my log tables, page 22, and use my Sn formula here for my sum of the terms. So Sn is equal to n over 2 times 2a plus n minus 1 times d. And I'm going to sub in my n, which is the number of terms, so that's 50, divided by 2 times a, which is 4, plus my n minus 1, which is 50 minus 1, times my difference, which is 5. So that's going to get me the sum of the first 50 terms. Then going to go to my calculator and basically type that in. So it's 25 times 8 plus 49 times 5, which is giving me 245, which is 25 times 253, and 253 multiplied by 25 is giving me 6,325. So that's the sum of the first 50 terms in that sequence. Okay, now we're on to our section B, our long questions. The first one here is question 7, is income tax. So the first part there, at what level of annual income does a worker start paying the top rate of USC? Well, you can see here there's broken into 3 sections. The first 12,000 approximately, then the next 8.5, and then the next 49,500. So basically what you have to do is you have to add up all of those values. So you're adding up the 12 €8,012 euro plus the €8,472 euro plus the €49,560, and that figure will give you the level of the top rate of tax. So the top rate of tax then will be at €70,000 and €44. So €70,944. Okay, how much USC will a worker have paid in total if they pay the maximum amount due at each of the three rates? So that means that we're going to have three parts here. We're going to have €12,012 at 0.5%. So we need to find that. Then we need to get the next €8,472, and that is going to be at 2%. And then we are going to find 4.5% of €49,560, and we are then going to add them together because that will give us the total amount of USC paid if they earn that maximum amount of money. So once they hit that amount of money, that's 70,000, only then will the top rate kick in. So I'm going to find those three percentages now. So it is 12,012 multiplied by 0.5%, which is €6,006. Sorry, no, what am I doing there? That's wrong. Multiplied by 0.5, it's actually €60.06. So I have a decimal point in there. The next one is 8,472 divided by 100 multiplied by 2 is giving me 169.44. And my third one is 49,560 divided by 100 multiplied by 4.5, which is giving me €2,230.20. I add those three together and I'm getting €2,459.70. Okay, so that's part B. Scrolling on down here to C, John's annual income is €54,800. Find the amount of USC he will pay. So just be careful with this question here. So I'm just going to draw it on a number line here. So on the first €12,012, it's at 0.5%. Okay, the next €8,472 is at 2%. Now that will bring John's total earnings up to €20,484. So we're still not at the 54,000 yet. It then says on the next 49,000. Now the next 49,000 is going to push him over his earnings of 54,800. So what we have to do is find that value of the remainder. So I'm going to go 54,800, take away the USC that we've paid, which will be on 20,484. So he's basically going to pay 4.5% on €34,316. So when we set up our three percentages here, we're going to have the 12,000 at 0.5%, which we know from part B, which is €60.06. He's then going to pay 2% on the next 8,472, which again we know to be 169.44. Now the next part, he's not paying 49,000 because that'll bring him over his earnings of 54,800. It'll be 34,316 at 4.5%. So to be clear here, that if I add up these three figures, they will bring you to this 54,800, the total amount that John is earning here. Okay, so that is giving me 34,316 divided by 100 multiplied by 4.5, which is 1,000 $544.22. So find the total amount of USC here that John will pay. When I add them together, I get €1,773.72. Okay, so that is part C. Scrolling on down to part D. Mary pays €1,602.72 in USC. Find her annual income. So let's just zoom out here a bit so we can see the previous part of the question. So remember that if you pay the first lower rate, sorry, my screen is jumping. The two lower rates, so the 0.5% and the 2%. So Mary must pay the €60 and the 6 cent and the 169 and the 44 cent. So Mary must at least pay 169.44 plus 60.06, which is €229.50. In total, Mary is paying 1602.72. So I'm going to take away the original two rates, and that totaled €229.50. So that's getting €1,373.22 at the third band, the 4.5%. Now, Mary isn't being pushed into the top rate because you can see here that her earnings are still below John's. So we know that it's not being pushed into the top rate. So that means that Mary's €1,373 of an answer is going to equal, so it'll be something like this: 1373.22 is equal to some value at 4.5%. So that's what we know. Compare it here to John's. Look at John's figure. We did, so this is what we have, but John's was 1,444. This figure now highlighted in blue is basically what we now need to find for Mary. So how do we find that value? What value multiplied by 4.5% gives us 1,373.22? So to get our value for x, basically what we have to do is we have to divide across by 4%. Now, just be careful, 4.5% as a decimal is 0.045. So if you divide that by 100 to turn a percentage into a decimal, so you're dividing by 0.045. So that means that Mary must have earned 1373.22 divided by 0.045, €30,516 in order to pay 1373.22 in USC. So the question then wants us to find her total income. So her total income will be our 30,516 or 30,516 plus the other two values at the lower bands. And those lower bands are going to be, let's go back up to John's. There are these figures here. This one, so that would have been our 12,012 and the 8472. So they're coming from our table at the top of the question. So I'm basically just going to add 30,516 plus 12,912 plus 8,472. And when I add them together, I get 30,516 plus 12,012 plus 8,472, which is giving Mary's total income of 51,000. Okay, next part, E. Patrick has an annual income of 83,000 and pays a total USC of that. Find the top rate of tax. So let's go through the stages again. So we have Patrick on the first 12,000 and €12 at 0.5%. He will then pay the next 8,472 at 2%, and then he'll have the next 49,516 560 at 4.5%, and then he will have the balance. So if we add these three together, we get 70,044 euro. Now Patrick earns 83,000 euros. If we take that away from 83,000, we know that Patrick pays the higher tax rate on 12,956. So I'm going to put that 12,956 in here, and we know that it is at some percentage, and that's what we have to find here. So coming back now and filling in all these figures, we have these from the previous parts of the question, so I'm just going to write in the first three now. Okay, so I've just filled in the first three bands there, and when I add them together, so I'm going to add these three together, and I get a value of 2,459.70. So that's my first three values. Now that means that my value of USC at the top rate of tax is going to be the total USC minus the three lower rates of USC. So I'm just going to take these away here, and at least I'll know the value of the USC at the top rate. So I'm going to take away from the 3496.18, which is giving me 1,036 euro and 48. So I know that this rate here must be 1036.48. So basically, I now need to find out what percentage of 12,956 euro will give me 1,036.48. So to get that percentage, I'm going to divide across by my 12956. So it's a little bit of algebra once again. So 1036.48 divided by my 12956, and that is giving me percentage of 0.08 as a decimal. So I multiply that by 100, and that'll give me 8%. So find the top rate of USC. The top rate of USC is 8%. Okay, we're now looking at question 8. A square sheet of cardboard of sides 10 units is used to make an open box. Squares of side X are removed from each corner of the cardboard and is then folded along the dotted lines as shown. So part A. The length L, breadth B, height H of the box are shown in the diagram above. Write L, B and H in terms of X. Okay, so this looks like our L is going to be 10. That's the full width of the box. Now I'm folding up my corners, which are both X and X in length. So that's basically 2 X's. So I'm basically taking away X from both sides. So 10 minus 2X seems to be the plausible solution for my length. It's a square sheet of cardboard, so my length and my breadth are going to be the same. So that's 10 minus 2X. Because it's square, this is also going to be 10. And the height of the box, well, height of the box is what I'm going to fold up, and I'm folding up a height of X. Part B, show that the volume of the box can be written as that. Well, how do I find volume of a box? I multiply length by width, or breadth in this case, by height. So I basically just need to multiply 10 minus 2X multiplied by 10 minus 2X multiplied by X, and show that that's getting 4x cubed minus 40x squared plus 100x. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually multiply these two parts. So forget about the x for a second. Doesn't matter what order you written them in. You'll get the same answer. So first term multiplied by second bracket, and then second term multiplied by second bracket. And don't forget though, this all needs to be then multiplied by x. 10 multiplied by 10 is 100, minus 10 multiplied by 2x is 20x, 2x multiplied by minus 10 is minus 20x, and then minus 2x multiplied by minus 2x is positive 4x. Again, this is all going to be multiplied by x. If I tidy up inside the bracket, minus 20, sorry, that is a minus 4x squared. And then I'm going to put the minus 20 and the minus 20 together. So there shouldn't be an equals there. That should just be a minus 20. So minus 20 minus 20x is giving me minus 40x, so it's 100 minus 40x plus 4x squared, all times x. Now I'm going to finally multiply in this x, and that's giving me x multiplied by 100 is 100x. X multiplied by minus 40x is minus 40x squared. And then x multiplied by 4x squared is plus 4x cubed. Just going to rearrange it with the highest degree to the front. So 4x cubed minus 40x squared plus 100x. And that's what they wanted in the question. Part C. Explain why a box of height 6 units cannot be made from the sheet of cardboard. Now, the reason why we can't use a height of 6 is, if you think about it, look at my length and my width of my box, or my breadth, I should call it, according to this question here. So my length and my breadth, they are both given as 10 minus 2x. Now, if I told you that the height of the box, which is represented as x from part 1, as 6, look what happens when I sub in 6 for x. I get 2 times 6. And that gets me 10, take away 12, which is giving me minus 2. Now, in reality, we can't have a length or the breadth of a box being a negative number. This is an actual cardboard box. So because I get a negative value for length and breadth, I cannot use x equals to 6 as a height. So basically anything below 6. So if I use the natural number 5, it'd be 10 minus 5. Well, that's just my sheet of paper. Anything below that should work. But you can see here that when I sub in 6 for x, I get a negative value for length and breadth, which I can't have. Part D. Complete the table below to show the values of the following. So it looks like here you're just subbing in the values for x. So I'm just going to basically do one out down the side, and then I'll just fill in the solutions. So what you're doing here is you're going 4 bracket cubed minus 40 multiplied by something squared plus 100 times something. So let's look at the, let's do 1.5. So I'm going to put in 1.5 for x, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. So I've subbed in my 1.5. And when we evaluate that, we get 73.5. Now, I'm just going to keep that on my calculator and work out the remainders. So when I sub in 0, I get 0. When I put in 0.5, they've done that for me. It's 40.5. When I sub in 1, I get 64. When I sub in 2, I get 72. When I sub in 2.5, I get 62.5. When I sub in 3.5, I get 31.5. When I sub in 3, I get 48. When I sub in 4, I get 16. And when I sub in 5, I get 0. Okay, I now need to plot that graph. So those are the points plotted. And when I connect them with a freehand sketch, again, apologies, mine's on a screen here, so it'll look a little bit rough. But you're meant to be going through the dots without a ruler, and it looks something like that. It's a cubic, so it should be kind of tailing off there to the right. It doesn't have to be a perfect U shape. Okay, and that's our graph. Next part of the question, part 1, 2 and 3, is now asking us to use the graph to estimate each of the following values. In each case, show your work on the graph above. The maximum volume of the box. So the maximum volume of the box is at the top of the curve, which is about here. And that is coming across to my 70. What did we have that from on our table? We had it at about 72, so it's slightly above the 72. So let's go with 72.1 because it's curved, so it might go slightly above the 2 before it comes back down. The value of x, which will create a box with a volume of 30. So let's go to 30 here on our volume. I'm going to draw a line across here. So it's that line there. So the values, so it says there's more than one value, and you can see it's impacting on the graph here and here. So if I drop that down, it's roughly 0.4 and 3.5. The volume of the box when x is 2.5 units, 2.8 units. 2.8 units is about there. So if I come up from 2.8 to where I touch my graph again, sorry now I can't use a ruler here, but it's touching it here, which is giving me a volume of about 50. Okay, and that is part E. Don't think there's much more to that. Question 9. We're back to patterns here now. The first 3 patterns in the shape are shown. Draw the 4th one. So it looks like we're increasing our solid circles. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, I'm on a screen here, so they're not going to be ideal. There's an X under this one. So there's an X under each dot. And it's in a grid of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. My 3rd line. And then my 4th line. So something like that. Find a formula in n for the number of dots in the pattern. Well, my dots are going, first term is 1, second term is 2, third term is 3, fourth term is 4. So it's going up in units of 1. So is my formula for Tn just going to be n, isn't it? Because if I want to find like term 2, I just put 2 in for n and I get 2. And there's 2 dots in term 2. If I want term 3, I just put 3 in for n. There's 3 dots in term 3. I think it's as simple as that. So find a formula in n for the number of dots in pattern n. So in pattern n, my formula is just n. I hope that's as easy as that. Scrolling on down, find the total number of dots in the first 20 patterns. So the total number of dots in the first 20 patterns. So we're back to our log tables, to the sum of the formula here. So our SN formula from our log tables to get the total number of dots. So this is page 22 in your log tables. So our formula here for sum of the terms is SN is equal to n over 2 times 2a plus n minus 1 times d. So that's giving me the sum of the first 20 terms is equal to 20 over 2 times 2a. My first term is 1 and my difference is also 1. So that's going to be 1 plus 20 minus 1 times the difference, which is 10 multiplied by 2 plus 19, which is 10 times 21, which is 210. So find the total number of dots in the first 20 patterns. There will be 210 dots in total. Part IV. The table shows the number of crosses for the first 2 patterns. Complete the table and hence find a formula for the number of crosses in the pattern n of the sequence. So we have 1, 4. In the next one there we have 3, 6, 9. In the one we've drawn out, we have 4, 8, 12, 16. So hopefully you can spot the pattern here. It's been squared. Think about it. 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. 6 squared is 36. So it's exponential. It's going up by a square. Number of crosses in n term, it's going to be n to the power of 2. So I'm just squaring. So in term 5, just 25. 5 to the power of 2. Find the number of crosses in pattern 12. So my formula for Tn is equal to n squared. So that means that T12 is equal to 12 squared, which is 144 crosses. Find the number of shapes, dots and crosses in pattern 10. Okay, so this is basically going to be using our answer from part 2, which is for dots. I'm just going to draw a dot here. My formula is Tn is equal to n. So for T10, it's going to be just a value of 10. And then for the crosses, I have a formula for Tn to be n squared. And I'm looking for Tn to be 10 squared, which is 100. So the question now wants us to find the number of shapes, dots and crosses in pattern 10. So therefore my total dots and crosses, I'll say, in pattern 10, in T10, is going to be 10 plus 100, which is 110 shapes. Okay, and that is question 9a. Now scrolling on down to part B of question 9. The first two patterns in the sequence of patterns of crosses are shown below. Pattern 1, 1 cross. Pattern 2, 3 crosses. The number of crosses in pattern n is Tn. The general term describing Tn can be written as that. Using substitution for n to write down T1 and T2 in terms of A, B and C and a number. Okay, so this is basically testing it. So basically what you're doing here is you're subbing in 1 for n. That's basically all you have to do. It reads more complicated than it is, but you're putting 1 in for n. And then you're putting in 2 in for n. So first of all, I'm going to sub in 1. So that gets me 1 squared over 2 plus b times 1 plus c. I then put in my 2, which is going to be 2 squared over 2 plus b times 2 plus c. That's going to get me, so this one is going to be 1 squared is 1 over 2 is a half, or 0.5. B multiplied by 1 is 1b, or just b, plus c. And on the bottom one here for T2, 2 squared is 4, 4 divided by 2 is 2, plus 2 multiplied by b is 2b, plus c. And that is it. Not much more we can do there. Hence or otherwise find the values of b and c in part 2. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to use simultaneous equations for this. So I have two equations. I have a half plus 1b plus c, and I have 2 plus 2b plus c. Now I know the value of T1. The value of T1 is 1. There's 1 cross in pattern 1. And I know the value of T2. If I look at my picture, there are 3 crosses, so that's why I'm going to let it equal to 3, because that's my term 1 and term 2. I need to get rid of that fraction, so I'm going to multiply across, or first of all, actually, I'm going to move that half over and that 2 over. I want to have them equal to the constant, so that gives me 1b plus c is equal to 1 minus a half, and I have 2b plus c is equal to 3 minus 2, which is giving me 1b plus c is equal to a half, and 2b plus c is equal to 1. Okay, let's cancel out the c's first of all. So I need to change the signs here on the bottom. So I'm going to multiply across by -1. So that becomes a minus, minus, minus. Plus c minus c is cancelled. 1 take away 2b is -1b. is equal to a half, take away 1 is negative a half. So that means to get b on its own, I go minus a half divided by negative 1. So 1 divided into a half is a half, and minus divided by minus gives me plus. So b is equal to positive a half. Now find c. And to find c, I'm going to sub it in. It doesn't matter which one I sub it into. I'm going to sub it into the very first one there. A half plus 1b plus c is equal to 1. And that becomes a half plus 1b plus my c. And my c, my b, I should say. Sorry, yeah. I'm trying to find my c, aren't I? Plus c is equal to, and I'm subbing in my half for b. Apologies about that. So that's getting me a half plus a half plus c is equal to 1. A half plus a half is 1 plus c is equal to 1. C is equal to 1. Moving over that 1 becomes a minus 1, so c is equal to 0. So hence or otherwise find the value of b and c. B is a half and c is 0. Okay, final question, question 10. So the water behind the dam is normally released at a rate of 250,000 litres per second. Find how long it takes to release 1 million cubic meters of water. It's telling us that a meter cubed is 1,000 litres. So that basically means in order to turn our 250,000 litres into meters cubed, I need to divide by 1,000. Because 1,000 of our litres is 1 meter cubed. So dividing 250,000 by 1,000 gets us 250 meters cubed. So 250 meters cubed. Now, I need to find out what a million cubic meters, how long it'll take a million cubic meters. So I now need to take my million cubic meters, which is 6 zeros, and I need to divide that by my 250 meters cubed, because that's per second basically. So I want to divide 250 into 1 million, and that gives me 4,000 seconds. So it takes 4,000 seconds to release 1 million cubic meters. And I need to divide that by 60 to turn it into minutes. So dividing that by 60 gets me 66.6 minutes. And the question wants us to give it to the nearest minute. So I'm getting 67 minutes for part A, part 1. Coming down to part 2, due to heavy rain, the operators of the dam decide to increase the flow by 10% for 24 hours. Find how many meters cubed of water released in 24-hour period. Give your answer in significant form. Okay, so first of all, we need to increase our capacity. Our original capacity was 250,000 litres per second, and it is now increasing the flow by 10%. So I basically need to increase this by 10%. So dividing 250,000 by 100, multiplying by 10 is giving me an increase of 25,000 litres per second. So therefore the new capacity is adding the 25,000 onto the 250,000, which is 275,000 litres per second. Now the question wants us to release it meters cubed. So let's turn our 275,000 litres per second into our meters cubed, similar to part 1. So I'm just going to come up here, and I first of all need to divide it by 1,000. So 275,000 litres divided by 1,000 will turn it into our meters cubed. and that is giving me 275 meters cubed per second. It's a 24-hour period, so I want to multiply this by 60 to turn it into meters cubed per minute. So that's 16500. Meters cubed per minute. Let's now multiply it by another 60 to turn it into hours. And I'm getting 990,000, so 990,000 meters cubed per hour. Now it wants it in a 24-hour period, so I need to multiply this by 24. Because I have 24 hours. So that's coming up as 237,600,000. So counting back 3. So that's 23,760,000 meters cubed in a 24-hour period. Okay, now we get to the work of turning it into the form of a multiplied by 10 to the negative 1, or to the 10 to the power of n. So we need to count back our units. So starting here, we go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 decimal points. So that's going to be 2.376 multiplied by 10 to the power of 7. It wants it to 3 significant figures. So that's going to be 2.38 multiplied by 10 to the power of 7. Or you could have done your significant figures here. You could have made it 238,000,000. So 23,800,000. And then you could have made it 2.38 multiplied by 10 to the power of, and count back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 places. Okay, and that is part 2. Scrolling on now to part B, part 1. So, John walks around a circular trail of radius half a kilometre at a steady speed of 6 kilometres per hour. How long will it take him to complete 3 full circuits of the trail? So we're basically trying to find the circumference or the perimeter of a circle. And the circumference of a circle is given by our log tables 2 pi r. And that is going 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by a radius of 0.5 is our radius. And that is giving me 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by 0.5, which is coming up as pi. And if I turn that into a decimal, that is coming up as a 3.14. So a loop of our circle is 3.14 kilometers. Now it wants us how long will it take him to complete 3 circuits. So I'm going to multiply this by 3 to get the full distance, which is coming up as 3 pi or 9.42 kilometers in total distance. So if John can walk 6 kilometers in an hour, how long does it take him to walk 9.42 kilometers? So I'm going to use our formula from our distance, speed and time. So distance, speed and time. I'm looking for how long, so that's time. So time is equal to distance over speed. My distance here is 9.42 divided by a speed of 6. So that's getting us a time of 9.42 divided by 6, which is coming up as 1.57 hours. And if I want to turn that into time, that's 1 hour and how many minutes? So 1 hour, so I need to multiply my 0.57 by 60. So 0.57 multiplied by 60, because 0.57 is not 57 minutes. It's a 0.57 of an hour. In other words, like 0.5 would be 30 minutes. So 0.57 is 34 minutes and 20 seconds. So 1 hour, 34 minutes because it says to the nearest minute. Part 2. Mary decides to walk every day over a 5-day period. She walks a distance of 3 kilometers on day 1. She increases the length of her walk by 15% each day for the next 4 days. Her average speed on day 5 is 4 kilometers per hour. Find how long it will take her to complete her walk on day 5. So we need to do out our 5 days. So let's look at day 1 first of all. So day 1, what's Mary doing? Mary is doing 3 kilometers. In day 2, Mary increases her distance by 15%. So it's 3 kilometers plus 15%. So dividing 3 by 100 multiplied by 15, or just multiplying 3 by 1.15, Mary is walking 3.45 kilometers. On day 2, we have day 2. Day 3, it's now going to be 3.45 kilometers plus 15% is now multiplying by 1.15, is bringing her up to 3.9675 kilometers. On day 4, Mary is going to increase this 3.9675 by 15%. So multiply by 1.15 again. Mary is now up to 4 kilometers, 0.562625 kilometers. And finally now she is on to day 5. So it is 4.562625 kilometers plus 15%. So multiplying on my calculator by 1.15, so we're up to 5 kilometers, so 5.247 kilometers on day 5. So she increases the length of her walk by 15% each day for the next 4 days. So that's done. Her average speed on day 5 is 4 kilometers per hour. Find how long it will take her to complete her walk on day 5. So again, we're going for our formulas, distance, speed, and time. The question wants us to find how long, so that's time once again. So time is equal to distance over speed. So time is equal to the distance, 5.247 kilometers. Her speed is 4 kilometers per hour. So that's giving Mary a time of roughly 1.31 hours. And it wants it to give your answer in minutes. So I need to multiply this by 60 to get it into minutes. So multiply by 60 is 78. So again, I kept all this on my calculator. So it's 78.705 minutes. And correct to the nearest minute, so 79 minutes. Okay, the final part, part 3. One day during John's walk, he meets Mary at point P on the trail. Mary is walking in the opposite direction at a steady pace of 4 kilometers. John continues walking at 6 kilometers per hour. How far will he travel until he meets Mary again? Give your answer correct to the nearest meter. Tricky enough to finish up on this. So how far will he travel? So that's again looking at your distance, speed and time. Distance, speed and time. How far is distance? So distance is equal to speed multiplied by time. Now if we look at Mary for a second, how far will Mary go? Mary is going 4 kilometers per hour. And we don't know, let's just call it by time. So Mary travels 4t. So we sub in some value for time. So in 2 hours, she travels 8 and so on. So 4 multiplied by t. If we look at John is going 6 kilometers per hour. So that would be 6 multiplied by our value for t. So 6t. Again, in 2 hours, he travels 6 multiplied by 2, which is 12. Now, when we put the two of them together, per day. So they're traveling this per day. So 4t plus 6t is equal to our per day we got from the part 1, which is the full rotation, 2 pi r. So 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by 5, which would give you pi, or 3.14. Then to solve for t, we get 4t plus 6t is 10t equals pi. So t is equal to 3.14 divided by 10, which is giving me 0.314. So that's our value for t. Now the question wants us to find out how far John traveled. So we need to now sub that in for John's value, and John is 6t. And when I sub in 0.314 for t and multiply it by 6, I get 1.884 kilometers. The question wants it to be in meters. So to turn kilometers to meters, I need to multiply by 1,000. So John traveled 1,884 meters.